For the last 9 years, EA Sports has pretty much had the NHL console gaming market all to themselves. And for the most part, they've released a solid title year in year out that has provided hockey fans with a game that is a respectable representation of the sport. But after spending the better part of a decade on top of the hockey video game mountain, fans have begun to sour on the series, and the market seems to be pining for the days of old when multiple publishers developed games under the NHL license. I'm DZ, and we're going to dig into a phrase today that I feel like I've heard a ton around the NHL series. Hockey games used to be fun. Now obviously statements like that are one part nostalgia and one part hyperbole, but are they also one part truth? Did hockey games used to be more fun than they are now? Back in the early 2000s, the hockey gaming market was essentially a four-horse town. Outside of EA, there was 2K Sports, which offered up an alternative to EA for fans looking for a game that blended both the arcade and sim genres. There was Midway, whose NHL hit series featured 3-on-3 hockey and took a page out of NFL Blitz's playbook. And Sony's 989 Studios offered up a game that's, well, it also released on an annual basis. Okay, so where are those game series now? Well, 2K is seemingly too busy dominating the hardwood, as they haven't released a non-Wii exclusive NHL game on consoles since 2009. Black Box, the developer behind NHL Hits, was purchased by EA and went on to make NHL 2004 before developing the Need for Speed Underground series, as well as EA's Skate series. That added up to NHL Hits Pro being created by a new developer, and the series ultimately being put on ice in 2004. And finally, Sony dropped out of the hockey game development market altogether after Gretzky NHL 2006.
I'm Wayne Gretzky. Welcome to Gretzky NHL 06.
Now, despite what you may think, EA does not hold an exclusive rights deal with the NHL. In fact, they'd be the first to tell you that. They wouldn't be able to tell you where 2K went, though. Alright, so then what happened? Well, in large part, the skill stick happened.
Welcome to NHL 07 by EA Sports. New to NHL 07 is the EA Sports Skill Stick.
When EA introduced the skill stick back in NHL 07, it was a revolutionary addition that forever changed the idea of how people believed hockey games should be played on consoles. Precise, responsive, and intuitive, the skill stick has stood the test of time because it just makes sense. By the way, this is not the only time EA has taken absolute control over a genre after introducing an intuitive analog stick control scheme. Look no further than the Flick It system in EA Skate that pretty much shut down the Tony Hawk series overnight. And this is coming from a guy who owned every single Tony Hawk game up until Proving Grounds, and that was a way better game than most people think it is. And again, Black Box, kinda good at what they did. With a superior control scheme, better animations, better presentation, unique game modes such as EA SHL, and critical praise from the gaming community at large, EA's hockey series steadily begun to trend upwards. Meanwhile, NHL 2K began to flounder into the point of extinction. Now, outside of their super card game that was an annual release up until 2017, which apparently was fun, but I never played it. In the span of 4 years, the console gaming market went from the choice between 3 NHL titles to just 1. With the AAA market seemingly all to themselves, EA continued to build on the NHL series, significantly improving player models, implementing an all-new physics system, porting over the successful, albeit controversial Ultimate Team mode from the FIFA series, and of course, they introduced us to GM Connected. That might be the NHL gaming community's trigger word at this point. GM Connected. GM Connected. When NHL 13 launched in the fall of 2013, one of its major selling points was GM Connected, a game mode that evolved offline career mode into an online experience that allowed players to form leagues with up to 30 user-controlled teams. It also included a companion app, meaning players could wheel and deal like a real GM on the go. The game mode was an instant hit amongst fans of the series, and was yet another reason that life was good if you were a video game playing hockey fan. And then NHL 15 happened. The NHL series jump into the next generation didn't go quite as smoothly as fans and likely EA would have hoped for. Yes, from a visual standpoint, the game looked gorgeous and still played well, but the change in hardware meant that the game's feature list was as bare as the Blue Jackets trophy cabinet. GM Connected and EA SHL were the most notable casualties in NHL 15, but even GM mode and Be a Pro mode were severely stripped down, leaving players with a title that boasted fun gameplay, but a lack of game modes to have fun playing in. Stop me if this is beginning to sound familiar. For the first time in a long time, the NHL series was no longer a darling with critics. The lack of depth left everyone wanting more and led to the game receiving a Metacritic score below 60. If NHL 07 was the game that crowned EA Sports as the king of hockey games, NHL 15 was the game that led fans' desire for a new challenger for the throne. So are lack of game modes to blame for the gaming community just not being quite as interested in NHL games like they used to? That doesn't quite seem to be the case. EA SHL would return to the series in NHL 16, and a depth of GM mode features were later restored in future titles, although none of those features really could be considered as innovative. They were more or less retreads from the past. EA also built off their short-lived NHL arcade game, introducing threes in NHL 18, an arcade-style game mode that was built to appeal to casual hockey fans and fill the void in the market left by the extinction of Midway's hit series. series. In NHL 19, EA Sports reacted to the market by attempting to create their very own version of NBA 2K's The Neighborhood with World of Chell. But unlike 2K's Neighborhood, World of Chell didn't actually feature a world for players to walk around in, and rather than meld their offline career mode into the ecosystem like 2K did, EA left Be a Pro mode out of the experience entirely. Meanwhile, while EA attempted to follow the status quo with World of Chell, they've been quiet in their response to the emergence of story modes in sports games. FIFA kicked things off with The Journey in FIFA 17, while the Madden series featured The Long Shot in 18 and 19 before relaunching their story mode as a more personalized experience with Face of the Franchise in Madden 20. Out of those three EA Sports franchises, NHL is the only one that has yet to implement EA's Frostbite engine into the game, which may be one large reason that they've never taken a shot at story mode, but that explanation would just serve to underline fans' prevailing sentiment to the series. After years of forward-thinking innovation, it now feels like the series is playing from behind. Perhaps it's not a lack of game modes that have led fans to grow frustrated with NHL, but rather it's a lack of compelling or innovative game modes that's left fans wanting more. And maybe it's just a lack of competition and choice in the market that's created this feeling that the hockey gaming genre could just use a little kick in the backside. As stated earlier, EA does not hold an exclusive rights deal over developing NHL games, but they do hold a dominating position in the market, meaning if a challenger were to step forward towards the current king, they really couldn't afford to miss. So, what do you think? Did hockey games used to be more fun, or are we all just really fickle and we're just waiting for EA to get some competition? I don't have the answer to that. I'm of the opinion that obviously competition would breed innovation, but it's also not a guarantee. You know, you look at FIFA and PES, like FIFA has competition, but PES doesn't sell as well. That's just a fact. And as a result of that, there are plenty of things that people are still frustrated with in FIFA that they've been frustrated with for a long time. So that's not a guarantee of anything necessarily either. But at this point, couldn't hurt to have some competition. That's just my thought. As for what you think, that's what the comments are for. I'd like to know. If you could add one thing into the NHL series that you think would bring new fans in, what would it be? For more NHL stuff, you can check out our difficult NHL challenge, or you can even check out our review of NHL 20.